radio show with your host, Lonnie Clark. We stand together and accept that we now live in a world transformed by Fukushima. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.TV radio. We relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We expose and confront the complete lack of accountability for the nuclear industry. Consider social engineering programs who view our bodies, minds, and souls as assets on a balance sheet. We discuss vital current issues, interview activists, and engage our audience in an effort to allow all voices to be heard. The Age of Fission radio show creates a venue that all will choose. We encourage our listeners to reclaim their power and their courage to take action and save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Our actions matter. Every voice matters. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear. Good morning, UCY.TV radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark with the Age of Fission radio show. Today is April 25th, 2017. It's 8 o'clock in the morning here in Eugene, Oregon. I want to thank you for joining us, and please remember to share this station with your friends. Share this radio show with your friends. Remind them that they can listen to us live on TuneIn Radio. That seems to be a lot easier. My guest for this morning, Nancy Newell, had to cancel last night. There was a meeting to help close down the Columbia Generating Station that happened right about this same time, so she's not going to be joining us today. We're probably going to pre-record an interview with her again. I love having her on. She's an activist for over 20 years in this, and frankly is quite inspiring. She keeps on keeping on, and I want to have her back on. But her time seems to be tight with these catching up on these schedules, because a lot of times they don't tell people until boom, right before it happens. So I wanted to share that with you, because she will be back with us probably in a couple of weeks, because we'll pre-record and then play her when the time slot's available. So I thought what I'd do is open up the phone lines in case anybody wants to give me a call. It's 718-717-8106, and that is my Skype number that you can call me directly. It's 718-717-8106. I am going to talk to you about a few things that I think stick out like a sore thumb. This is something that we really need to understand. A lot of us are talking about, like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do if the country completely collapses? We're going to leave the country, right? Well, there's some new things. It's called the Real ID Act. That's going to happen in 2018. My passport expires in October, so I really need to get on this. This is something that's going to really change us. The new passport that was introduced in July 2016, and this is coming from Guidester. This is a story I saw on Facebook. And to be honest, the stories that I'm going to share with you all come from Facebook. I was looking at the news, but people have a good way of picking out the really good stories, so I thought I'd just go there. Our passports, after 2018, folks, we are going to be required to carry a passport to get on any airplane. That's one of the biggest changes. So we all have to have a passport if you want to travel. The new passports have a new chip in them that tell them our biometric information. Now, I don't know what that means, how they can give you biometric information, but it says, according to the State Department, there will even be more advanced technological features and forensic devices coming in the future. So this is something we all need to pay attention to. If we want to be able to get out of here, we got to have the right passport. And absolutely, after 2020, absolutely all travelers on U.S. domestic flights will no longer accept driver's license as a form of ID, which makes passports a necessity. So put that in your little cap. That's the first thing in the morning that you're hearing from me. You need a passport if you want to escape the Trumpster, man. So this guy has more nerve than Carter's got liver pills. I swear to God. I've actually been really attempting to comprehend how people can support him. I watch his feed on Twitter. I watch his feed on Instagram, and people are like, build the wall. Thank you for making America great. That to me, I just cannot comprehend people saying that we need a wall. We have a wall on 2/3 of the entire border. The places where we don't have a wall is private property, or it's absolute desert, and much of that is still private property. So we have a wall. Walls don't work, folks. You can go over them, come under them. I mean, it's not about the wall, it's about economic policies. What about if we started imposing tariffs on Taco Bell, who has forced all of the tomato farmers to flee to the United States because they purchased all their land, started planting GMOs so that surrounding farmers, their plants don't grow anymore. This is the insidiousness of GMOs. Or, I mean, it's unconscionable what our country is doing to South America and to Central America. And frankly, it's unconscionable what we're doing to the Middle East. It's how we can continue to allow this to happen. I mean, I'm personally, after the radio show's over today, I'm calling up Senator Burr and asking him how he can be so un-American, completely un-American, as to not even investigate these allegations of Trump's campaign managers and campaign people knowingly colluding with the Russians. There's a lot of information on that. Now, Comey came to public about their investigation on Clinton and tanked her presidency, thank God, but said nothing. So here's Glenn. I'm going to add a call to let's see. Good morning. You're on UCY with Lonnie Clark. Glenn? Hello, Glenn. Are you there? Hello? Looks like you're here, Glenn. Mr. Glen Woodford just called in, and I hope that he can get me because it looks like he's on the radio with me. So I don't know if you're there, Glenn, or we're having trouble connecting. Me and my little audio settings. Let's take a look at this, folks. Make sure that we have this right. Because I should be able to hear you, Glenn. I can't hear you. I don't know if you're on, but I cannot hear you, brother. Let's see. Yep. So, Glenn, are you there? I don't think so. I don't think it's working. Well, I'm going to keep on because doesn't seem to be working. I can't hear him. Okay, so let's get back to this, the Trumpster. Wow. So he signed something yesterday. Trump just announced an executive order to sell off the national monuments. Here he is again. Let's see if we can give him the all-American call. And you know what I can do, Glenn? If I can't get you on this call, is I will call you right back. That always seems to work. So that did not work. I'm going to do it a different way. Let's see if we can get a group call going in with Mr. Glen Woodford. Glen is a YouTuber who has a really sweet heart and is pretty active. He lives in Paducah.
Hello.
Hey, Glen. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Lonnie. I appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, so this thing about Trump, I'm stunned. I was just reading, did you hear he's selling off the national monuments? You know what they're going to do? This is, in fact, sort of Obama sort of paved the way for this, but this is allowing them to, they're selling off 1.35 million acres of Bear Ears National Monument, which was created in December. Obama tried to save this. But what they're going to be doing is, this is the Republican plan to mine this for uranium. They're going to be mining all these places for uranium. They're digging in deep on nuclear in the Trump administration.
Absolutely, and he has so many ties with it. He's never going to change his mind. He's never going to change his mind about any of this stuff. He's a sociopathic maniac, really, and the sooner people realize that, the better off we're going to be. So,
well, this is the thing. I don't understand how people don't see this as Nixon 2.0. I personally really believe he's a CIA plant. During the election, I thought he jumped in just to help Hillary get elected. I thought he was but then whoever our overlords are, they must have gotten really mad at Hillary for doing something. I've heard several stories at what really put him over the edge, but pretty evident Trump did not expect to win. His wife didn't expect to win. I mean, that was pretty evident. And the wrecking ball cabinet, we have people in the cabinet that he never even met Rex Tillerson. Can you imagine? Before becoming president, he never met Rex Tillerson, who's now Secretary of State.
Isn't that just outlandish and reckless? Just absolutely reckless.
It is reckless. That's a perfect word for it. It is reckless. But I have been reading these tweets, like it really blows me away. People, they think he's a great guy. They think he's doing good work. They love the idea that he's breaking up the government. What they don't have is a sense of history, because this is precisely what Pinochet did to Chile. This is what all of these installed dictators that we did in South America, they did the same thing to all of their countries.
I think he's a tight ass, and he's an absentee landlord is what he is, and we all know what great trouble that lies ahead with all of his shenanigans and all of his hiding and all of his. I mean, you have to really look at people as a collective. You know, sides do get drawn, but people, just like here yesterday, there's a place called Darpo, and it's literally probably 4 miles from my house, and people that I know are like 3 and 4 blocks from this place, and they reprocess dead fish and chicken and all these things. Well, some people, the stench, and they were getting sick, and so they came out yesterday and they said that we're going to start using all these bleaches and these detergents and these things to cover the smell and maybe cut down on respiratory problems. So, and these people, they didn't care nothing about that. Because they're putting in a road, like probably, I don't know, a mile down the same road, and they're wanting to put in a nursing facility and you know, do some great things. And these people came out in droves last night, worried about traffic and worried about the noise that causes them problems in their neighborhood. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe in a free state. You should be able to say whatever you want, but that's the type of stuff we're dealing with right there. These people don't care that they're going to be breathing bleaches, detergents, and all that. They care about the traffic that's going to be on the streets. So, you know, it is a hard battle every single day, because we're up against people that really cannot see what's going on right in front of them, and it gets you down, and you get deterred, and you have to carry on every day. There's hope, because there's people out here like you and me and others that we know, and you know, I wish every day that we could come together and be a collective and stand out against these things. And there are people that do, but as a collective, I hope that we're gaining ground.
Well, I like to think that we are. And, this is, when we'll gain ground when the whole thing falls apart. Like, I don't know how
Absolutely.
you feel about, I actually, yesterday on yesterday's show, we had my friend Carol on talking about, what's that called? The Gotham Shield experiment that's going on in New York City yesterday, today, tomorrow. About they're pretending to detonate a nuclear bomb. So they're having the emergency squad everywhere, right? And people
Yes.
are very nervous. In fact, myself included, I was thinking about this all day yesterday. This is the thing that we do know about the overlords. They love when we walk around in anxiety and fear. They thrive off of our anxiety. And this whole thing about Gotham Shield is so obvious. Anybody paying attention is like, I wonder if they're going to really do it, like do another 9/11 or the Boston bomber thing, which I don't believe was real either. Um, I mean, they could be doing something like that. And I was thinking, man, they want us to be worried. Carol called me up very upset. She's like really seriously preparing. She's called me up, wants me to like get a weapon, so I could defend myself. I'm like, look, I actually don't know if they're going to do a nuclear detonation off of in New York City or New Jersey. I mean, this is the anxiety that people are having. I think it's another form of abuse. It's just gaslighting because it's like the typical abuser when they come home, you don't know if they're going to beat the crap out of you, but they'll be nice to you. And then all of a sudden, someone will trigger them, but you don't know when it's coming. And that's what this is all about, keeping us guessing when it's coming because we all know something's going to look. The Republicans have not the Republicans in Congress got on television and said, we're going to have bipartisan investigations. We're going to really look into this thing about Trump's connections to helping colluding with the Russians to Jimmy rig the elections. Now, they're all saying they think it failed, but the fact that they did it, I mean, all of Trump's people are highly connected to Russian spies and Russian business. I mean, there's something super fishy about the way that whole thing went down. All of them. Even Pete Sessions lied to the Senate about his contacts when he didn't have to. That's the thing that made it suspicious. He didn't have to. He has a full right to talk to Russians. He was a full senator. He had every reason to talk to these people, but he chose to not even mention it. So this is the issue with them is their behavior instigates suspicion. And yet Senator
And
Burr refuses to even call a single senator. The congressman has said he's stepping down. The guy Chaffetz from Utah is the one who was heading the committee after that other bozo had to step down because he got caught feeding information to the people there investigating it. So then Chaffetz was going to take it over. They've called no witnesses, subpoenaed nobody, done nothing, absolutely no hearings called. And then he says he's going to step down. Senator Burr gets in front of a camera with Senator Warner and says, we're having a bipartisan, don't worry, it's really great. But Senator Warner has repeatedly asked to have people subpoenaed. Let's get a date going. And nothing is happening. And now we have the president summoning all the senators to the White House about North Korea.
yeah, and if people don't think this reckless, I don't even like to call him president, but this reckless man won't push that red button, they're out of their minds. And just like you said, the coordinated terror attack, they are wanting obedience, but they're pushing for disobedience. And all the platforms that he ran on, he just lied. He surrounded himself with globalists, absolutely globalist, millionaires, and that keep your eye on the ball. Don't get caught up in all this other stuff because it's almost like that they're doing all this stuff to keep something big under wraps. And cops detain entire school illegally. They search 900 kids, finding nothing, but they grow them, and and these parents are completely outraged. And here's the thing.
Where was that? I didn't hear about that. Where was that?
Worth County, I think it was
In Kentucky?
Oh no, Worth County, Georgia, is where this happened.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of undocumented people in Georgia.
But why would they be doing a false nuclear attack? Why is all this about the nuclear in North Korea? It's I don't know if he is overcompensating because he knows he can't follow through on everything that he said. So once again, this war, and we all know that war is the biggest profiteering thing in the absolute in history. We know, and we steal people's resources, and you got to pay attention. Certain countries, there's only a few that will not submit to our monetary system, our fiat note type system, and he zeroed in. And if people don't think he won't push the button, they're absolutely wrong.
Yeah,
If it all is real.
He and Hillary Clinton were selected because they would push the button. That's they wouldn't. Let's be really clear. We have had what Obama's presidency showed me was that we have had a real serious coup inside of our country. This is why, even if Trump was naive and believed he could do what he said he could do, he gets into office and he is told he's going to hire Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. I mean, that's pretty obvious. He didn't even meet the man. He has no idea how our government runs. That's why he makes all these faux pas about, he's sitting in a room at Mar-a-Lago with nuclear secrets sitting on the desk. He has no concept of what security is. The guy's a complete incompetent. But, he's got more chutzpah than Carter's got liver pills. So, he goes after it. I mean, this is the audacity of idiocy. I think that's the way to, for me, I cannot understand how people can support his presidency. This idea of, the EPA completely needs to be shook down. It does not need to be gutted. We need to have our own. We don't need to gut our education system. We need to hire teachers. We need to educate our people. I mean, we don't need to gut Obamacare. We just need to transform it into Medicare for all, which we could do in a boom. By next year, it could be implemented. But that means the reason they don't do any of those things is because the people at the very top have to pay more money. I mean, look, Bernie Sanders' whole Medicare for all plan, you know what it would have required? It would have required that the top 1% of the 1%, I mean, the very top people, several hundred people, pay 2% on their dividends. That's it. A 2% increase of tax on the dividends only. That would have funded Medicare, and they are objecting to it. I mean, to be honest, but it goes all the way down. This is why people are angry about academia. I was in my, what was the class? Introduction to Environmental Politics. We have a lecture every Thursday, and it's run by the PA, the professor's assistant. She's getting her thesis, her doctorate, right? So she has to be like his assistant. She runs the lecture class. She literally said to me in class that China has just about as many people as we do, and that we have more border to protect, and that Paul Ryan is a very respectable person. All in one morning. Now, I let the Paul Ryan thing go, but the Chinese thing, I mean, I came home and Googled it. Now, this is how they twist up heads with the nuclear scientist. She is actually a statistician. That's what she's going to get her master's in, I think, statistics. So this is a whole kind of new field for her, and she's learning. But this is about how they use statistics. Per capita, there's as many Chinese because they have to take into account, all of their total square area of China, which is just about the same size, but it's got all the mountains. And it does have, we do have more borders to defend because they have the Himalayas. They don't need border protection there. No one can get through anyways, right? So, but they have 1,350,000,000 people. We have 345 million people. That's not the same. And so the way it's exactly, but this is what she as a student She looked it up. It was part of a paper she was working on. So it made her believe that we need the money for our border security. We need to have it because we have big issues. Do you get how they twist people's heads who are even academics? Because people don't think outside the box because they so believe that they're being told the truth.
Absolutely, in academia and self thought, and they want us to be dumbed down and not pay attention. The 33rd degree Mason redcoats are back, and they never left, but they're back in a big way. And the whole North Korean thing is just bundled up, and it's to advertise the billboard. But there are some parts in it that you do need to raise an eyebrow to. London's involved with it. You know, I don't know if you heard, but London, they just completely stopped North Korean insurance companies, and they're, you know, it's why is that all involved and rolled up in it? And North Korea, and they're going to bring Tillerson's coming to the UN. He's going to bring them up. I mean, to me, I don't know about you, Lonnie, but was North Korea ever a threat to us? I mean,
well, again, my opinion is that North Korea is a CIA plant. And I know I
right,
say that a lot, but I think the CIA is out of control. I think it is at the heart of the ill that's in our country. It has unlimited funding that has oversight by nobody. They have black hole operations that they sell drugs to support their activities. I mean, that's the reality. We know they do. They have
right,
what they call black operations. So, do I believe that I think Kim Jong Un is like, he's the whole thing, that whole North Korea, South Korea divide split. I mean, they're still at war. That's ridiculous. They've never concluded. It's never been concluded. And you're telling me that we have a third world country run by a singular dictator who we could not take down in a heartbeat, who George Bush, by the way, allowed to get nuclear weapons. He did not have nuclear weapons before George Bush. George Bush stopped the reviews, stopped all of us going in there with the State Department. They were always on him. They were forcing him to go through reviews all the time. And what they did was they stopped it. And as soon as he stopped it, he was able to get nuclear weapons. He weaponized themselves. Just about the time old Bushy Boy was saying mission accomplished, and that was part of his mission accomplished. Everything's been set up so that it's checkmate, checkmate, checkmate. Anywhere we turn. This is why the Occupy movement failed. Checkmate.
right.
Checkmate. Checkmate.
And
No matter what we do, checkmate. Can't get in Clinton, checkmate with Trump. Trump gets in, checkmate. Like, really?
yeah, and you know, if we don't educate and enlighten our youth, which is the future, it always has been, which they've suppressed and made them pretty much zombies, and they don't even have to think for themselves and work out math problems or do anything. They just Google everything. But I'm encouraged with some. I know I do my part to get through to the youth. But, you know, when I was coming up, I mean, remember though, we used to have family barbecues in the neighborhood, and everybody knew each other. And, you know, now only thing that we see when we walk through our neighborhoods is the glare of that TV or computer screen. I like to say the television is blaring and the ghost of Hitler speaks, and it's crowned with barbed wire. It's just, it's the youth is lost. Our influence is gone. And me, myself, having 3 boys, I have to teach them everything that I've learned through life. And I think, just like we've said before, the motherly influence, the women in our lives have to be propped up and completely revered, because the motherly instinct, the motherly love seems like it's being taken out. And like I said before, they want obedience, but they are pushing for disobedience, because people will eventually stand up and fight, and they want that. They want that. There's countries right now that are starving to death. People are in complete turmoil, and the majority of the people here care about what new McDonald's sandwich is coming out, or what's on The Voice, or whatever. And it's okay to have a life and do other things than to be worried about everything that's going on in the world. But when you care and you love, like some of us, a majority of us, we cannot break away from the real issues. And you said they're digging in on uranium. My Paducah gaseous diffusion plant, just semis coming in and out and in and out. And it's, I haven't got out there since 3/11, but I will definitely go back out there because that uranium needs to be hit hard. And I know
they're going after uranium. They're actually proposing uranium stocks are skyrocketing. Yeah. Because of the Trump administration. And they opened up uranium mining to South America in 2012 and 13. And so it's no hold bar. They really, honestly, the way that it works is, this is why I think it's really important for us to stay optimistic, because they want us miserable. So I don't think we need to give them what they want. And the fact is they will collapse. It is about to collapse. I mean, this is why we're all sort of waiting. We think, in our hearts, I don't know about you, but I feel like they selected Trump so that he could callously and without regard do all he could to harm people. He's not going to look backwards when his first days in office, he was at dinner and sent a guy to his death. He's like, oh, yeah, we made that decision over dinner, a plan that Obama said we need to look at and wait a little while longer. And then he uses the guy as a television prop, and people think, oh, he's a great guy. It's like the other day he went in and put a purple heart on a man whose legs were just blown up, right? And he said to him, congratulations. Congratulations, not thank you for your service. He said, congratulations on winning this medal, as if getting a medal, your legs blown off and getting a medal is something to be. He has no concept of what it means to be, because he suffers from narcissistic personality disorder. He needs therapy, man. I did make a YouTube video about that. Remember a while back? I told him he needed therapy. I did tweet it to him also.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you would, like I said, it's so outrageous and unreal. We can't believe that it's happening, and he's slipping right under the radar and doing all these things. If you would have told me 20 years ago that Donald Trump would be the leader of the free world, I would have. Oh my gosh, I'd have bought that bridge for $1. I tell you that.
Well, I think the misnomer is that we're living in a free world. I think that's where he's the leader of the not free world. Pretty obvious. Right. I mean, look, there was a story on Facebook that shocked me that I was going to read about. This little 10-year-old boy in school was arrested at school and spent the night in jail. Because he was disruptive, they called the police.
Wow.
He didn't want to be touched, so he was freaking out. And so they called the cops and they put him in handcuffs and put him into a cop car at 10 years old.
Right.
Now, these were grown men putting a child in cuffs. This wasn't the school system saying you have to do it. The school system was just fit to be tied. They didn't know they were not prepared for this. But to call police officers who then handcuffed a 10-year-old child. This tells us
pushing to see how far they can take us before we have civil disobedience. That's exactly. And remember, he said, law and order will be back. Well, the people that wanted that, whose law and order? Whose idea of law and order is it going to be? Because the maniac that's in charge, I don't want that law and order.
That's not order, and it's not law. It's illegal. A lot of what he's done. This is the thing that shocks me. I'm telling you, as soon as I'm off the radio, I'm calling Senator Burr's office and ask him, when are you going to start being an American? Because this is unreasonable. You know, what stopped Nixon was the Republicans investigated him.
Yes.
We have a
And you know,
senator.
and you're right. Something they know that our youth is the most important important thing, the fabric of everything. Um, Sheena works for with juveniles and has to process them and do diversions, and she's got kids coming in the same way, Lonnie. They handcuff them for this kid like slammed over a beaker in science class, and they they treated him like he was a terrorist. So
Wow.
I think they're pushing to see how far they can push us, and I don't want it to come to that. I pray every day for. It sounds cheesy, but just peace, world peace, just
Well,
peace.
you know what? They're demonizing women and children. And this is how,
Absolutely.
but one of the things that dictators do is they demonize the family, they go after journalism, and they militarize the police. I mean, this is not rocket science. We've seen this play
No,
out before.
right.
The
Order
question
out of
is, at
chaos.
what point, like, we just had the science march, right? The climate science march, where there was tens of thousands of people again out in the streets all over America. But is anything going to come of those efforts and that energy that was out there? Yeah, we're asserting our rights. Like, really? Then what? What rights are you doing? The very next day, he signs off selling the monuments. I mean, are we organizing sit-ins to sit in on our elected officials' offices? Maybe that's what we need to do, Glenn, is just start camp. I mean, Heidi said that. That's what Heidi Lambert suggests over the summer. We need to take our kids camping and camp out on the offices of our elected officials and at their
It,
homes.
it's funny you say that. I mean, not like that, but me and my two sons and Sheena just last weekend went on camping trips, and there were no devices, and there were no nothing, and we came together. We needed it. Every family
Well,
needs
it's
that.
very important for us to leave our devices. One of the things they've really discovered is that the electronic signals that's in our cell phones and even in our, all this, it actually is addictive. It creates an endorphin in your brain. So that's why people are constantly searching for it, because as soon as you touch your phone, it creates an endorphin. It actually stimulates your brain in a way that you don't get, and you do need to like completely disconnect from it. They have shown that to be true. I want to give people out the phone number for Senator Burr, because he is the man who is the head of the senatorial committee to investigate the FBI's confirmed information that Trump administration officials were meeting with Russian spies during the election. There's a lot of information that shows that they colluded. They knew about it, and in some instances they allowed it. And our our government, the FBI, knows about it. They have a lot of information. And so
Well,
Senator Burr's phone number is 202. That's always Washington. 224 means that's the Senate. 225 is the Congress. So 224-3154 is Senator Burr. And I would suggest people to call him and ask him to start being an American and start investigating this thing with Russia. Because this thing with North Korea, calling all the senators to the White House, they're having to redo an auditorium to hold 100 people to talk about North Korea. What's that?
absolutely.
That's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It starts with people contacting congressmen and Senate. They elect them. In my state, I haven't got involved in any Mitch McConnell madness, but it starts there. It starts there.
Well,
And
I hope you
get
call Mitch
involved in your
McConnell when we get
community.
back. Huh?
Get involved in your community. Gosh, get the communities back. Just in your community, in your own community, and start there. And then if we all can come together and some of these websites and places that is accepted and is promoted, we need to go to those websites in droves and call them out and show them and give them the evidence. And and when you get to the top of the heap,
Glenn, I
Fukushima.
don't think evidence
God.
matters. I don't think evidence matters. We're not talking about evidence. We're talking about brainwashing. We're talking about, really, we're talking about battered wives. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a female and I grew up in such abject violence in my household. But every female I know has been assaulted by a man. Every female I know has been assaulted by a man. They say it's 1 in 4. I think it's far more than that. Many children are assaulted by adults, and even boys are assaulted, and men are assaulted. So there's a lot of violence that's going on that's being unreported, but yet people act like battered wives because they are so afraid to let go of what they know, their security. It's like, remember that lunatic who abducted those 3 women and had them chained in their house, and they never really went out. They never tried to escape. It took them years to just get the courage up to escape. And people go, oh my God, I would like fight every day. No, you don't. You actually submit. That's the, when you are cornered we're just animals. Our instinct is to survive. And that's why people are ignoring it. They just want to survive. They don't want to be the target of, they're afraid of our government. Look what they did the reason Snowden is in Russia, which is ironic because the Obama administration forced Snowden to go to Russia. And the Obama administration also knew very well that Trump and his cohorts were colluding with Russia. They knew all about it. They knew all about it. So why did they say nothing? Why did Obama go away for 4 months, 3 months, or 2 months, however long it's been, and has said nothing about the destruction of what's gone on in our country? He could have rallied the troops, but why does he say nothing? See, this is what we're facing. It's not just the masses. It's all of it. It's the whole. It's the pervasive. It's the brainwashing. But part of it is, it is a challenge. It's kind of like a daily exercise to decide you're not going to be unhappy. It is a daily exercise.
It's all a delusion. It's all a delusion, and it's a war on personal freedom. It's always been a war on personal freedom. They don't want us to go back to the land. They don't want us to do anything but look at our phones, not pay attention, and eat the McDonald's and care about what new movies are coming out or whatever these kids do nowadays. I planted a garden last week. That's what I did.
That's good.
I know you're big on gardens. I see a lot of things that you do on gardens.
Yeah, well, I live in Oregon, so I grew up in Southern California. I'm from LA, and so when I came up here, I had no idea, but everybody here gardens, and I've been here 14 years, and I honestly it's almost like my starts in my garden I got for free. There's a man who has a whole little organic little starter farm where he gives people starters for free. You just go over there and he'll give you a box of starts. I mean, in Oregon, there's a whole conversation about sustainability because I live right down the street from farms. I mean, it's a very different, I've never lived in a place like this, but the consciousness is different. And yet our state is extremely kind of doesn't know which way it wants to go. It's a very racist state. Fundamentally, they believe in eugenics. They believe in white people are fundamentally better. And yeah. I mean, there's still a lot. I mean, this conversation about why we have racism, and I think when I interviewed Jill on my show, Jill Wheatley was on my show. She did a PhD in anthropology and women's and ethnic studies. Her thesis was about the fact that capitalism needs racism. You can't have it one without the other. That's why it's not always the color of your skin in a capitalist society, because sometimes people are the same color. But you have to have that in order to create the divide, because humans naturally come together. This is the thing. Like, people act like calling yourself a socialist is a bad word. Like,
they're programmed that way.
Yes. And that is what we're fighting, Glenn, is the programming. Like, that's the battered wife syndrome that we're dealing with. That is really it fundamentally. This is why people look at a man who, before the election, a month or two before the election, was caught on tape admitting he sexually assaults women. And people thought that was okay. Let's ignore that. That was 7 years ago. Of course, he doesn't do it. And then on inauguration, the guy is such an oaf with his wife. He jumps out of the limo and rushes up the stairs to take over from Obama. He can't wait to get in there. He leaves his beautiful wife standing there with the president in back of the car like a left behind toy. He's the biggest oaf I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, I like the point you alluded to earlier. You never know when an abusive person is going to come in the door. You don't know what you're going to get, and that's him to a T. You can see it. It's in him. I still am waking up every day, and one of my thoughts go through my mind is Donald Trump is our fucking president. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to say that.
Do you really think about that? You know what I think? The first thing I do is I'm like, oh God, what has he done in the middle of the night? What? Because he's 3 hours ahead of us, so I always wait for like 9/11 happened right when I was waking up, right? Like things happen on the East Coast by the time we're waking up, and so my first thought is, okay, what's he done today? And I keep waiting for our senators. I mean, am I naive? But I keep waiting for our senators to actually start investigating this and hold him accountable. The fact that they don't tells me how good it is.
There's some that really, really want to, but the minority just crushes them every time. And now that they've got the House and the presidency, just hold on to your seatbelts. But it's, like you said, the people that he surrounds himself with, former Trump campaign chair just got arrested for child sex trafficking during the campaign. The people that he surrounds himself with,
Well,
Kentucky
that whole sex trafficking
thing,
let's be very clear. The whole thing about sex trafficking women and children, that's run by people at the very top. Again, this is meant for their purpose. We are assets on a balance sheet. They use children. I mean, and what they do.
Look at the Bill O'Reilly thing. It's pumped in our face every day. But I'm glad awareness is brought to it, because majority of the men. I'm going to take a lot of flack for this, but the majority of the men are assholes.
Well, you know what? They're not. They've just been trained to be that way. They've been trained to be disrespectful, hyper masculinized, so that they think that it's okay to deride and chide women, and they look at women as not quite exactly equal to them, that of course women are beneath them. I mean, that is what men and women train their sons to be like that from little age. Like, you're not allowed to cry. You got to buck up. You're a man. You can't be a whole human being. You have to cut it off.
Well, and that's the thing I was saying earlier, though. You go back to when I come up many moons ago, and even masculinity was an okay thing, but we needed strong male figures in our life. And let me tell you something. They worked every single day, and they worked hard. And I've seen my father cry many times, and there's nothing like to see a strong-willed man, working man, and he can cry. That's just the best.
Well, it's just a real human being. This is the issue. So and then this is where we get into this electronics, because believe you me, these electronic games are made to train people to drop drones, to be obedient, to comply, because there's a hormone. It's extremely, again, they have learned how to manipulate the masses, and they do quite effectively, so that people like you and I who have resisted the programming, at whatever level that we have, we're a threat to their control. This is why they minimize us. Hundreds of thousands of people could take to the street the day after Trump, and yet 3 months later, none of those issues are addressed. Trump is just doing the wrecking ball crew. Betsy DeVos is going to destroy our schools, and has intentionally set out some new regulations that will do that very shortly. I mean, we are going to see.
Yeah, the net is being drawn in around us. And Lonnie, do you think, though, that people that come out, like you said, that many after Trump and the scientist thing the other day, they come out and they do these things, but do you think that after it's over, the masses, the majority of them, get lazy again and they think they've done their part. But in reality, it would take doing that every single day for months.
Yeah, I mean, it's an attitude. To me, what it's about is shirking your American duties as an American. We have this ideal of we believe in our Constitution, but democracy only works if you do. The reason that corporations have taken over is because Americans stay silent. If every American got up and called their elected official twice a week on any issue, we could change the way this country works. But because we don't, we just go, oh, well, that's the way it is. Corporations run everything. Yeah, because we've just let them. We allow them to.
You do got awesome people. It was hippie with a gun. Put the camera in dude's face and ask him about Fukushima. And you know, I gotta say this: if Kevin is listening or whoever. Kevin just had some heart surgery. I think he's having more. So just keep him in your thoughts. I just need to say that.
Yeah, I was going to mention that before we ended. Kevin Blanche, who was on, had a show here, the Post Ignorance Project, for about 2 years, had to go back in. They looked at his aortic valve, and I guess they decided they need to redo it. So he's going back in for surgery pretty soon. So let's keep Kevin in our prayers for sure.
Absolutely.
And you know what?
This is the thing. The reason. Jules for getting all this done. Big ups to Jules.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the reason that you thought of Kevin is because Kevin is a big advocate for going out there and talking to people. I think that, when I talked to Senator Merkley, believe you me, his aide was all nervous that I was actually talking to him. She wanted me to move along, and I just refused to move along. You kind of have, the aides and the people around this is the thing we have to understand. They're just human beings who have all been coerced and colluded, because that's how the system works. They look for ways to blackmail every single person. And if you don't have anything to be blackmailed about, they attempt to create situations that make you blackmailable. They will entrap you. So all of us, I don't know if you know about Cynthia McKinney, but she was chased out of Congress. Literally, they poured millions of dollars to get her seat back. She was the first black woman elected in Texas to the Congress. And she stood up to George Bush. And do you know what? After she said no to the Unpatriot Act. And every time she went into the Congress, every time she got searched. Every time, twice, at 2 different stops every day when she went in. Because the Congress, they kind of have their passes and they go around because they know who they are. They've already been through screening. They made her life. They harassed her. They have ways to get to you. So this is the issue. She's always touting that our government is just a sham after her experience that. And I can't help but agree with her. But the only reason it is because we as Americans have allowed it that way. So we need to lean into this and pressure them. Look, they all backed down on Obamacare when people came out to their little hearings, their town halls. They all back down on, gutting it. They were all ready to just gut the whole thing, but so many people freaked out. They're like, wait a minute, we want our jobs.
Absolutely. And it is a shame that we can't lean hard on it and keep it going. But as for me, and I'm not speaking for you, but the things that we do every day, the things in our heart that we're passionate about, and the awareness that we make, and the strides that we make in what we believe, when I lay my head down at night, I can sleep. I know that as far as myself goes. I feel like if I can make someone happy and tell them about issues that they need to know about and maybe get them to research, or just let them know that I love them, I think that's where it has to start, in the human conscience.
It is. It does have to start in the human conscience. It does. But you know what? This is the thing. Trump thinks he's waking up and doing the right thing. His whole team around them, they all know. They think this is the issue. They have this elitist attitude that because they have access to money, that they know what's best for everyone.
Demon possessed. And Listen, did you know, Jared, that building that he bought across from Rockefeller Center is 666?
Yes, and do you know that it just came out actually today that the Flynn, Mike Flynn's involvement with the Russians and that whole scandal is way worse than they originally thought. He was
Oh,
paid
absolutely.
$600,000 in a lobbying deal by the Russians. I mean,
See,
uh-huh. He also reported that a Dutch shell company that was owned was forced to resign. Let's see what it says. He admitted his work was principally benefited the Turkish government. I mean, there's this whole long story about what happened, how this whole thing got way worse. And the Republicans are refusing to even look at it because they know it. Chaffetz resigned. He's going to quit Congress because he doesn't want to have to be the one to send Trump to jail. That's what it sounds like to me. So
it is so it's so outrageous and cartoonish and plotted and the scripted. It's mind-boggling, isn't it? I can't believe it's happening. It's like being hit in the back of the head with a bat or something, and you just ringing and see stars. It's crazy. It is absolutely
what's
crazy.
sad is that people really think he's a good guy.
They do. They do.
Younger people, like the girl who cut my hair, she's like, "Oh, he's sweet. He's a nice." I'm like, "What about his?" Well, that's all men do that. No, not all men do that. That's the thing. Not all men are like that. There are men. In fact, most men are decent human beings. I venture to say they're not narcissistic. They don't suffer from psychosis.
But the discouragement, that movement, I hate to say a movement because a movement goes one place and stops. A revolution keeps, it comes back around in your face. But the discouragement of the young people and people that want to make a change. Obama failed us and lied to us. We believed in him, and They stole the election from Bernie because Bernie, I'm telling you right now, man.
Yeah, the DNC preferred Donald Trump over Bernie Sanders. Let's be clear who put Donald Trump in office. It was the Democratic National Committee. It was the Democrats who all stayed silent while Bernie's voters were scrubbed from the rolls. 700,000 votes in California never even were counted by the time they got to the convention. 1 million votes in San Diego County were found shredded. These are real stories. It's not made up. And the Democrats stayed silent because they thought they knew better. They didn't want some socialist running the country. They're all rich. You think if the Democrats really want to have a progressive plan, if they wanted it, they could have done it.
Yeah,
we've got 30 seconds. We got 30 seconds left. So I want to thank you for calling in, Glenn. We guys have been listening to Glen Woodford. You can look at Glen's videos on his YouTube channel just by his name, Glen Woodford. I encourage you to subscribe because his videos will move you. They're very moving, and I appreciate your work, Glen.
Oh, thank you, Lonnie. I appreciate yours. And everyone just keep pushing and give somebody a hug today.
Let's focus on love.
And keep them eyes to the sky, Lonnie. I love you.
Love you too, Glenn. Encouragement on you guys.